Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Jummah Mubarak. Friday blessings to everybody who's tuning in. Today is before I go any further, I'm remembering the victims of the 7/7 bombings from 18 years ago, and it's important we don't forget that when people get motivated by extreme ideas and misplaced sense of victimhood and things like this, the awful things that people can do. So, remember the people who sadly lost their lives in that tragic attack 18 years ago. And while we think about that, it makes it all the more poignant as to who we decide to follow. Why did those people 18 years ago do what they did? What kind of ideas motivated them to do what they did? And it's not about a particular religion, even if those people may have been Muslims. It's not about that. It's about a type of ideology. And you get people who have that kind of ideology and that kind of mentality who belong to different religions, even people like extreme Marxists and extreme communists who belong to no religion at all, and also extreme fascists who have done similar things in the past. So it makes it all the more poignant who we decide to follow, what kind of characteristics in the people that we choose to follow, what kind of teachings do we choose to follow? Any religion can be warped out of context. I was reading the book of Judges yesterday in the Bible. It's in the Old Testament of the Bible, so it is one of the books which is accepted by both Jews and Christians. And the book of Judges is talking about the testing of the people of Israel, the historic people of Israel, the Hebrews. And when the people were pleasing to God and they were doing the right things and living in righteousness, Allah uplifted them. Allah made things easy for them. Allah helped them to overcome their enemies. And when they were disobedient to God, they were overcome by their enemies. Not only that, but their own society started to implode and fall apart from within. This, in very, very brief summary, is the theme of the book of Judges. But there's a lot of war and conflict in that book alone, and that is just one book of the Bible. It would be very, very easy, and indeed there is historical precedent for this, for a group of people of the Jewish or Christian faith to take those teachings and warp them out of context into some kind of militaristic, terroristic kind of cult. And it has happened. So none of us should be complacent, and all of us should be on guard against that kind of mentality, which ultimately is destructive. If we look in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, they are all Abrahamic faiths. And one of the things about Abrahamic faiths is that they teach that we all have one God and we are one human family. Even in the Old Testament of the Bible, while the Jews may have been distinguished, or the Hebrews before them may have been distinguished with a particular mission to bring light unto the nations, actually. And great responsibility with that, with the 613 mitzvot, commandments, that they were supposed to try at least to live up to. But these were not obligated upon people of other nations. So this was a group of people that were distinguished as a special mission and a special responsibility. But times have moved on. And then you had Christianity come along, you had Islam come along. But even though you had this group of people who believed in these 613 mitzvot, and 10, as well as the 10 commandments that are more well known, and the one God, obviously, you saw within Judaism that they had this view of humanity as being one human family. And this passed on into Christianity, and Christianity also saw human beings as being one human family. And it is something which is passed on into Islam. So within all three of these Abrahamic traditions, there is a concept of one God and one human family. We're all the children of Adam and Eve. And whatever distinguishes us, as the Prophet Muhammad said in his last sermon, is to do with our God consciousness and to do with our actions. But how do we get there? And this was the point I was making. It's like, who do we choose to follow? We should look for people who are God conscious, people who have wisdom, people who have compassion and kindness, who reflect these qualities of God and previous prophets. And with this in mind, I would like to read to you from this book, one of the Sohbets of my Sheikh, Mawlana Shaykh Nazim, from page 23. This is volume 5 of Liberating the Soul, A Guide for Spiritual Growth, which is a compilation of Mawlana Shaykh Nazim's talks. This was produced in 2006, but the talk could be much earlier. The Sohbet could be much earlier. And it's on page 23 of the book. Following the ways of holy men. May Allah Almighty bless you during this holy month. You are coming here and listening. I am seeing that our assembly is not an ordinary assembly or association. This is not an official meeting, and we are not official people and attendees. We are carrying responsibility only towards Allah Almighty. I mean, this is a note here that Mawlana often made towards, or Grand Sheikh often made, towards people in official positions. They often, they have a official role, they have an official position, it's recognized by all of society. But do they have the reality? Of course, some of them will, but not all of them. If a person carries responsibility towards his Lord, he tries to do his best. And we are trying to do our best for each one of mankind living on earth. We are asking happiness and pleasure and peace for everyone. Here and hereafter, we are trying to give as much benefit as possible to everyone. That is the main aim of the holy people who lived before and who are living now and who will live after our time. This life began with a holy one, Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam. And since his time, there have been at every time holy ones, never absent. They are only living for others, not for themselves. They are sacrificing themselves for mankind, and therefore Allah Almighty rewards them in paradise, like no one else. We are trying to follow the ways of holy men. We must try to be holy ones because they are real believers. They really believe in Allah Almighty and the day of resurrection, really believe in paradise and hells. We must follow their ways and try to reach high standards of belief, not only by talking, but we must show our belief through our body's activities and actions, because believers show that they believe through their actions. Actions are evidences of holy people. And we are trying to reach their standard, the highest station of mankind. Again, through this, he's noting the difference between people who have reality and people who have titles. Some people in our times are carrying the title of holiness, but they are empty ones. We must try to be real holy ones, so that it should be said for us in the divine presence, Your Holiness. Prophets and their real successors, awliya Allah, are holy ones, and you can't be holy without reaching one of those holy ones. You must try to find one. And this is after the pattern, if you look, the Prophet Muhammad SAW had the Sahaba Ikram and his family descendants, the Ahlul Bayt. Prophet Jesus, peace be upon him, had his disciples. And Moses before him had his people, and among them would have been his closest disciples or students, people who learned from him and carried forward the message and teachings of Moses, peace be upon him, like the Levites. They, holy ones, are not found easily. Like diamonds and precious stones, they are difficult to find. Among people, holy ones will be up to the end of this world, but don't be cheated by empty titles, official titles. Try to find real ones whose names are written on heavenly stations. If anyone reaches such people, those holy ones also cover those who reach them. What is Mawlana saying here? He is saying there are people who are holy ones, some who have titles and some who don't have titles. It's hard to tell who they are according to the world, because the world is categorizing people in terms of those who have wealth or official position. But that's not necessarily the hierarchy in the divine presence. The standards by which human beings rate each other are by nature flawed, actually, because they're human standards. And they don't take everything into account and often value things such as outward appearance and political, monetary power. The people who are real in the divine presence might be some from among those people. It's not that they're excluded, because there are genuine people among them. But also it could be someone who doesn't look anything special, doesn't wear anything special, could be a very simple person who doesn't even mix that much with people. Mawlana Shaykh Nazim here is saying you look for them, whoever they are. Find those people. There's someone in my own life that I met only once, and she was a cleaner in Atlanta. Remarkable woman. She should have been a guru. She's someone who just is a cleaner in the worldly sense, but she had so much love, compassion, and wisdom, and wanted to share. All I needed to do was strike up a conversation with her, and I realized this person is someone very special. And I asked her, why don't you should be a guru or something. You should be doing something else, not, some kind of coach. She said, oh, no, I couldn't do that. But she could. She reminded me of the oracle from the Matrix. See here, if anyone reaches such people, so to try to find real ones whose names are written on heavenly stations. For this, you need some degree of intuition. Because names written on heavenly stations aren't necessarily the same as the names which are written on earthly plaques or on websites. Mawlana says, they do not come easily into your hands. They make so many examinations for that person, so many times trying him. And sometimes they are showing some perfection, and people are running after them. In other words, sometimes they can be someone who's very private and they try the people who come to learn from them and send them away, but they keep coming back. And sometimes they can be people that have a lot of followers. So it's hard to tell, who these people are, except with a discerning heart. Abu Yazid al-Bistami was always traveling to get in touch with people as much as possible. They always want to transfer their spiritual lights to others. Firstly, all prophets were travelers. Try to get in touch with more people. Whether accepting them or not doesn't matter. They have some powers, passing from their hearts to people. Impossible for a person to meet a prophet without being affected. As radiation comes on animals or plants or people, but does not quickly appear, their hearts are most important for giving their lights to people. Even at the last, those people should be affected. So you see, Mawlana here is mentioning Sheikh Abu Yazid al-Bistami and the fact that he always traveled. A lot of these saints always traveled. People like Ibn Arabi, he traveled a lot as well. And wherever they traveled, whoever they came into contact with, they had some effect on them. This is what Mawlana is saying. As like light passes and it falls upon someone, or Mawlana says radiation, not necessarily harmful radiation, but radiation you can't see. Radiation comes in all forms. This Wi-Fi signal is radiation. And it touches, it passes through things. Mawlana is saying that the awliya Allah have a special kind of radiation, that it will fall upon the hearts of those they come into contact with. And whether those people believe or not, it will benefit them in some way. SubhanAllah. One sec. Awliya, saints, are also following the same ways, and they also travel like the prophets. In Abu Yazid's time, there were no passports, no customs, no borders. From east to west, one could go. He was coming and showing his miraculous powers, and people, like bees coming to honey, were gathering around him. He gave something to them, and some of them were also going with him. All of them were attracted, but only some of them were suitable to be with him. So all of them were attracted, but only some of them were suitable to go with them. As we know, Allah Almighty has made for everyone a private position to be there. If everyone left his job and came to be a wali, no more life would continue as Allah wants it to continue. Everyone must keep their position and at the same time must keep their spiritual relationship with that Holy One. And then they can reach billions. That one's spiritual powers may cover the whole universe, because the whole universe without that Holy One is cheap. But with that one, it is precious. Because with that Holy One, it is infused with the remembrance of Allah, with the love of Allah and the love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But without the Holy Ones, the universe is just matter and energy. Without being infused with that divine love, without that divine remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or love of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that's why the universe without that would be cheap. But with even one person who is like that in the universe becomes precious. Because Allah is a hidden treasure and wants to be known. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the universe, created humanity, and all the other civilizations that we may be yet to discover across the universe. As we have been invited to visit the Kaaba, we are in need to find the holy servants of the Lord. The Kaaba may be visited once in a lifetime at least, and also that Holy One who represents the Prophet ﷺ must be known and visited even once in a lifetime, because the Holy Kaaba stands by that one. So there are people on this earth who are holy, even in this time, people who they spend their time in remembrance of Allah, in the pursuit of good, doing what is right, genuinely sincere people. They are few, as even Mawlana Shaykh Nazim said here, very few and difficult to find. But they exist, and it is highly beneficial for us to find one, because such a person is further down that road of taqwa than we are. They have more taqwa than us. They have more knowledge than us. They have more wisdom than us, more experience. We spend time with someone like that who is genuine and sincere, we benefit immensely. They can really accelerate our spiritual progress, just as a good teacher in any discipline can accelerate the progress of the student. You imagine trying to learn maths or geography or any of the sciences without a good teacher. A good teacher can speed up your progress immensely because they know how to explain things to you and teach them to you, convey those ideas in a simple way that's easier to understand. Alaikum Salam. And Mawlana is saying that among them is someone who is a sultan or awliya. Among them is someone maybe known only to Allah, who is like the king of these saints. He is that one who gives holiness to the servants of the Lord, Almighty Allah. He may be represented among the 124,000 holy ones at any time. They represent that Holy One who represents the seal of the Prophet ﷺ, by whom the Holy Kaaba stands. I am asking pilgrims, what did you see at the Holy Kaaba? Did you meet any Holy One? But no one is asking to meet anyone. For what are you going? For most people, they're only going to see a building and circle around a building. Mawlana is going deeper into this and saying we should be looking amongst those hajjis when we go, or if we go at any other time, even for Umrah, look for people who are holy, because among them may be some saint who is doing that. And if you can connect with that saint is someone who in this time is representing the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu, is connected to the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu, and they can connect you to the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu, and through the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu to directly to the divine presence. But it's important to find the right people. So Mawlana Shaykh Nazim was saying, I'm asking pilgrims, what did you see at the Holy Kaaba? Did you meet any Holy One? But no one is asking to meet anyone, because they're only going to see a building. You must look for that one who represents the Holy Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu. But now believers are official ones, all of them. If real ones, at the first step, they may ask permission to enter from the boundaries of these holy places. And whoever enters with full adab meets the guardians of those places. Full adab to the holy places is to come and say, I have left everything that my heart is occupied with in this life. If they, the holy guardians, see that your heart is for your Lord only, they may welcome you. But if you have only come to acquire the title of Haji, they may say, go away. If you came for the sake of your Lord, they see your heart and they welcomed you from the beginning. Even the Holy Kaaba may come to welcome you. As it came to Rabia al-Adawiyah, she was a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a lady, but she reached that level that only few men have reached. Mawlana then makes a point about physical equality, that today there are feminists who are calling for physical equality with men. But Mawlana is saying that men and women are not the same. And we're never going to be the same. And he said there's something not quite right if people are trying to be the opposite sex. But Mawlana says that in spirituality, there is equality. Women have more ability to reach the divine presence. And also among spiritual beings, women have been given something else through their spiritual life's high standards. Men are also equal, but their spiritual appearance, manifestation is of another kind. Both of them have been honored by Allah Almighty. No one knows the limits of that honor. The discussion is nonsense, the lowest rubbish. If you women are feeling oppressed, he said, don't go and work. Leave them men to do it. You sit in your houses. But Mawlana here is highlighting that spiritually, women actually have more ability to connect with the divine. And if you think about it, out of the two genders amongst human beings, which of them have been given the honor and blessing by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring a new life into this world through their own bodies? Men can fertilize the other gender, but only women can give birth to a child. And this is symbolic of the spiritual blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has conveyed upon women. And it also means that women go through a lot of difficulty that men will never have to go through. We go through different difficulties, but women can also go through those same difficulties as men. But women have something else. And Mawlana says, I just took this from Rabiat al-Adawiyah. She will be happy if we accept it. She went to pilgrimage at the time of Hassan al-Basri. He arrived at the Holy Kaaba and saw the Kaaba only has a shape, standing, leaving only a shadow. But the Kaaba itself was not there. He asked, "Oh my Lord, where is your holy house?" The answer came, Mawlana says, by telephone, by divine voice. Rabia is coming, and the Kaaba has gone to welcome her. She was at Arafat, the holy mountain. That day, she was useless for praying. Mawlana means that she was menstruating. And she was crying. Women think that something is wrong for them not to pray at that time. but this is a grant from Allah to them, carrying some burden, making things easier for them. She cried, and Allah, by Hatif Arabani, said to all the pilgrims, "This year your pilgrimage was not acceptable, but because of her, Rabia, crying, all of you are accepted." We must look after ourselves. When Abu Yazid showed some perfection, people ran after him. Sometimes he tried some of them by showing something that no one would accept. Then they left him and went away, and he left also. They, the awliya Allah, may try you by several ways. If you do not change due to their tests, they may accept you because it is not easy to follow. Therefore, they are choosing the one who should be with them always. Even once a year, you need to see them, giving you new power and taking away burdens. So it's important who we take as a teacher. Do we take people who inspire us to greatness, to achieve our best, and also to be constructive people within our society, supporting other people within our communities, whoever they are, whatever their beliefs? Or do we choose to follow people who take us down a rabbit hole which leads us to do something foolish? May Allah protect us from that and grant that we may be guided to people who are truly awliya Allah, who are truly good, beneficial, and holy teachers. I hope you have enjoyed this Friday Reflections, and I look forward to seeing you on Monday for my Sohbet and Sufi meditation, which will be back at the chaplaincy as usual on Monday afternoon and early evening. Yeah, I'm in the chaplaincy from the afternoon anyway for a dropping session with your chaplain, but from 5 p.m. onwards, I start to prepare for the Sohbet and Sufi meditation. And you're most welcome to join me at the chaplaincy if you are in the Birmingham area. You don't have to be a student at the university in order to join me. Well, I wish you all the very best. I hope you enjoy the rest of this Jummah day and have a wonderful weekend. All the very best. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May the peace and blessings of God be with you all.